Welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. Like I said, we have senior staff representatives of the VRA in the studio right now so we can have a conversation. I have Seyfas Dosey. He is Senior Staff National Chairman, the National Chairman of the Senior Staff of VRA. Sir, you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Also here with me is Esther Agyemang. Esther Agyemang is Chairperson for the VRA Union. You're also welcome.
Thank you.
So we've seen all of the things that you put out there in the media. Were you not aware that government was already making plans to sell some of the assets of the VRA?
The advert came as a surprise to us. As an institution, we know we have some challenges, and within the sector, there are some challenges. So right from January up to 22nd August, we've been trying to work around how to turn the company around. And the sale was not one of the things we're looking at.
Why are you so against the sale? You raised concerns about disconnecting state institutions automatically, etc. But we know that one of the main problems we have with our power sector is the fact that government owes so much, and that is what is crippling the power sector. If selling is one of the best ways to deal with the problem, why are you agitating against it?
Well, good afternoon. My first answer will be that if you owe someone, would your option be to sell out all your assets that you have to be able to repay your debt? The answer will be no then. But then if you have an asset, you should find ways of protecting those assets. And then if you have challenges or issues, you find ways of addressing those challenges as and when the issues arise.
I mean, just to add something to that, you pick a company's financial statements, just like the VRA one, the debt portfolio, the financial performance. When you pick those statements, you need to ask questions. Why the debt portfolio? Why the financial performance?
Do you have those answers?
I'm sure when you do that, you will be given some hot answers.
But do you have those answers?
Yes.
The energy minister mentioned the fact that there's so much debt, in the system, in the entire power sector. Do you have answers to the reasons why we've had this mounted debt, and why selling of the assets so that you can deal with the problem is not the solution?
Running a thermal plant, it's very expensive. We have thermal plants at Taboase and plants at Tema. Right, we're running our own hydro, we're running our own thermal plant, and we are supporting 4 other IPPs in addition to our operations. There's no way you can survive as an entity running your own thermal plant and supporting 4 other IPPs. We support Tico Taka in terms of crude procurement. We support Ameri in terms of making gas available to them. We support Senate in terms of making LCO available to them. And then the gas that comes from Nigeria, we also give it to Asogli. And you do this, you have all the debt sitting on the balance sheet of one entity. Some of the debt on VRA's balance sheets are really for the support that we have provided to some of these entities. You expect them to pay for the input that you've made available to them, but they end up not paying with a simple reason that they've not been paid by ECG. You go to ECG, will tell you that we've not received payment from government, and therefore we are unable to pay. So all the debts really sit on only one entity's balance sheets, instead of it being on various balance sheets.
This entity is the ECG?
No, those that we support. We've made gas available, for example, to Asogli.
Okay.
As we see it, over $200 million is sitting on VRA's books, right? As gas that we supply to Once the supply, we don't get paid by Asogli, we definitely have no money because you've not used the input to pay for that particular input. So the supplier really, you are either owing a bank or the supplier of that input. It sits on our books instead of sitting on Asogli's book, because the input came, we made it available to Asogli.
So yes, they owe you, so
yes.
It's still a debt.
Yes.
Whichever way, it's still a debt.
Yes. It's still a debt.
What, in the union's opinion, if selling is not for you the option, What, in your opinion, is the way to deal with the problem on your hand at the moment?
Well, the issues are there. Some started, most of the issues didn't start just today or yesterday. VRA has been running thermal plants since 1997. And if we've been running for the past 20 years, then it means we have some kind of track record in there. At this point, we are alarmed at the rate that for the past 2 years, that is from 2015 till date, we are being slapped in the face as being an inefficient organization. And like my brother mentioned, if you are being tagged as inefficient, but you know that that kind of inefficiency is not your fault, but then it is the fault of some IPPs, that is independent power producers, whose arrangement with either the government or whoever might have gone into some agreements, okay?
That affects you.
That affects you negatively.
But you sat down and you saw government go into those agreements, and those agreements have come down.
We all know
bite
that
you.
government will not come to you seeking your consent, that this is what I'm going to sign, to come and bind you tomorrow.
Are you saying that the VRA has been, government has sidestepped the VRA and taken decisions that have made the VRA inefficient, and has turned around and is putting the blame on the VRA?
Yes.
The point.
That's the problem.
And it's been happening in successive governments. And so today, if we are taxed as inefficient, then how did it start? Where did we begin? And why are we here?
I, as a power consumer, will say it started the moment you decided to keep quiet. You, as VRA, decided to keep quiet and allow government to play political football with you, irrespective of which party was in power. The moment you sat down and you allowed them to do this from the start, that is when the problem started. And so we come back to you as a power consumer. I'll come back to you and say that you have been inefficient because I don't have power in my home.
Yes, don't forget that we are also power consumers.
Well, you are the power managers and the consumers at the same time.
We are also power consumers. And the fact still remains that as a business entity, you might have some owners, you might have some managers in somewhere. But as stakeholders, some of these issues needs to be discussed, and it should be discussed appropriately. And at this point, if you were not consulted, if you have no idea that certain decisions are going to be taken, certain agreements have been signed over the years, and as it goes on and on and on, it has a way of affecting the organization. Let me tell you one thing. We are not up here speaking because we are workers of VRA, but we are seeing that certain decisions are negatively affecting the organization and as well affecting the nation. We shouldn't forget that VRA belongs to the nation.
When did the problem start?
It's a state asset.
When did the problem start?
Well, which of the problems are we looking at here?
let me just do something.
Okay.
We started with the TICO arrangement. That was the first one.
Which year was this?
1998. That was when we had the first VRA thermal plant. TICO came in. We've done that for about 17 years now. Basically, if somebody wants to come as an independent power producer, we believe that private sector is more efficient than the public sector, then they should go in there to look for their own inputs, right, generate the power and sell it out there. But what has happened was the government have signed very bad power purchase, power procurement agreement by way of sole sourcing and impose them on VRA. It's a very difficult thing. Here you have a CEO appointed by the government, and the government comes and say, I have entered in this agreement, kindly help me implement. Sometimes it's very difficult to say no to some of these things. What I want us to say that we have made some mistakes in the past. Let's just staff groups. We've kept quiet for too long, and now we need to be a bit assertive. Once they want, I'm happy somebody wants to measure VRA in terms of efficiency, helping VRA to compete or effect, that is fine. So we have to correct some of the mistakes that we've made in the past.
That's why you're taking this action
That is why we are taking this. Let's say, for example, the recent one, American transaction, has been with us for 19 months now. You go and sign an agreement knowing that the consumer out there is willing to pay only 5 cents per kilowatt hour. But you go and sign the agreement with an IPP and you give the person a tariff of 15 cents per kilowatt hour. And then you dump that in on VRA, Right. So we buy the power from Ameri around what? The total cost of Ameri power is the gas that we make available to them, plus the capacity charge that they charge on top. When you put that, give the total cost of the power. So you buy a power from Ameri at 15 cents and you go and sell at 5 cents.
For that was the arrangement?
That was the arrangement, yes.
Okay.
For that transaction, every month, VRA incurs a loss of what? $11.5 million. The total cost of power procured from Ameri and sold to ECG is over $371 million.
So how much debt are we looking at in terms of the Ameri, what the Ameri had made the VRA?
I'll arrive there.
Okay.
So the total cost of power from Ameri, $371 million. You go and sell that power. We sell 70% to ECG and we sell 30% to the mines, right? Different tariff levels. The total revenue from that power sales is 152 millions. Not the woman living at Makola will not do that.
Okay,
so
beginning, just so I understand you, because I believe that if I understand, then our viewers also understand. So 371 million is, say, the cost.
Yes.
The cost of procuring the Ameri
the power
maker.
Gas
now,
plus
yes.
capacity charges.
And after selling everything and managing everything, you make 152 million,
for example.
So you are obviously running at a loss.
At a loss. So the total loss from January 2016 to July 2017 runs around $280 million. You can multiply that figure by what? The current exchange 4.3, 4.4 will tell you.
And we're talking about dollars, right?
Yes, please.
So at the moment, you can say from your books, for example, that you're having about $218 million debt from the Ameri transaction.
Loss that we have incurred.
Did you not foresee this as technocrats, as people who knew, I mean, the politicians will come, but they don't have as much expertise as you do. That's why you're there as workers. Did you not foresee this? And did you not speak about it?
If you were in the knowledge of some of these transactions, you could have raised your heads up.
Okay.
You could have stand up against it. But you have no idea.
The decision is made and is dumped on you.
Yes. That was the point.
Okay, so now you're not going to allow this government as well to make a decision of selling assets and dumping the decision on you.
Yes.
And so you are up in arms.
Yes.
Now that the advert has already been placed in the newspapers, what's your next line of action, assuming government doesn't listen to any of the noise you're making?
Let's say we met the two deputies of ministers, the deputy minister of what? Petroleum, and then the deputy minister of what? Energy. They've admitted making some mistakes. Like I said, the advert came out without any consultation. And so you don't take decision as serious as this without engaging the stakeholder, the technical people who work in there. They've admitted that. They've also admitted that they are looking for advice for an entity that has not really exist. So those were some of the procedural errors they felt they've made. Okay. They are willing to sort of try to engage us. We are ready.
Okay. Yes. So they're willing to engage you and you're ready. Now the engagement is going to be that they will not sell. Are you going to stick by or stand by your position that you are not selling this? We are not allowing you to sell any of our assets.
There's no need to sell what? Via thermal plants. As we speak.
So assuming that you're making all of this noise because of one of the issues that you have raised about layoffs, assuming that that's the main reason for which you're up in arms, and they say they give you the arrangement, makes it clear to you that you're not losing your job, will that then make it okay for the assets to be sold?
Well, from labor point of view, it is not about layoffs at this point. In this whole business, it is not about layoffs. It's about state assets that is going to private hands. And if it's about private participation, we already have that kind of participation already. Those arrangements are already in place. Okay. They are supposed to be independent power producers. But as it stands, nobody sees them as independent so far as energy generation is concerned. Okay. Because then from labor to kind of fuel and all of those are being supported from VRA. Okay, so that is an issue that we will not even need to go into. Okay. But the fact still remains that VRA as an entity has an act that governs it. Okay. And that is the Act 46 as amended 1961. Okay. Anybody who wants to cross-check should look out for the act and then look at the mandate of VRA. It doesn't matter your source of generation. We have it in there by any other means we are to generate.
Okay.
Now, thermal is commending hydro. And so if
it's complementing
hydro. And so if you come out to say that we are known in hydro and we should remain in hydro,
that's not correct.
That's a no-go area.
Okay.
Let somebody show us an IPP in this country that is efficient.
So basically, everybody is depending on you.
On VRA. Yes.
And the problems are caused by the politicians. They take decisions unanimously. They come and dump it on you.
Yeah.
You are standing
and
up.
That must change.
That must change. You are standing up at this point, even though you admit that you have sat down and kept quiet and actually perhaps slept for so long. Now you are awake.
We are ready to.
Very well. But one of your demands is that you want the inauguration of a governing board.
Yes, please.
We have information that the ministry is tomorrow inaugurating a governing board. Is this something you are aware of?
For VRA?
No.
Yes.
Wow.
No.
You're not aware?
No. And why this time when we have worked without a board from February till date? It's a good news to all of us.
It's good news?
Yes.
Okay. And you're not feeling like...
stop micromanaging the company.
Okay.
They should allow the governance structures to work.
I see. Well, I guess that's going to happen.
And the minister, I'm honored, but the Minister of Energy, they should find a way of engaging the staff of VRA.
Okay.
We helped him to deliver on his mandate. He's been in office from January up to now without any engagement. I don't think that is good enough.
You have never had any personal engagement not with the staff?
No formal engagement.
But he has engaged with the management?
Maybe yes.
But not with the staff?
Not with us.
Okay. But has every minister engaged with you?
I remember we met with the Honorable Comrade Doko at the time, yes. Let's not wait for problems before we call for hot.
Okay.
It's just nice.
Okay. One final thing, which is very important for my viewers, I must ask you before we wrap up this conversation, is the kind of effect it will have on us as power consumers. You mentioned that we're going to have astronomical bills. Already some people will say they're already paying too much, even though they don't even enjoy power. Some people will say, you also raise the issue of disconnection of key state institutions, which, I mean, I might be personally biased. I really don't mind. but let's look at the effect that it's going to have on those of us who are working very hard to pay our light bills and yet aren't getting enough power, but yet still paying. If government should sell the assets that they want to sell, how is it going to affect us?
The selling, obviously, is not the solution. You have a company that produces thermal power and sell it at 41 cents per kilowatt hour. IPPs in this country, they all sell beyond 54 cents per kilowatt hour. You want to pick it from somebody who sells at home. People already complain about the time that they are paying. You want to pick it from somebody who's at 41 and give it to somebody who sells at 4. Is that what we want to see?
Okay, so you're basically saying that if you bring in private investors, they're going to charge us more.
Yes.
Obviously.
Okay.
Because
but maybe if they charge us more, then they will give us the power that we need. And if they don't, we perhaps complain, then they will listen.
There's no problem here. We have some debt in the sector. We need to work together to make sure we clear the debt. And I'm happy the Minister of Finance is taking some steps to clear that debt.
Okay.
Obviously, the liabilities in the sector are more than the receivable and things that you have. So somebody must step in. Like I mentioned the America example, you're buying power at 15 and selling at 5. We have to find a way of financing that. If we have the money, something that we have excess money from the hydro, but that is not true. If you pick the VRA annual report, whatever is in there, whatever revenue you see there, is the hydro revenue and thermal revenue. Whatever cost you see there is hydrothermal cost.
Okay.
And some of the costs you see in there are coming from the support that we provide to the IPPs.
Yeah, that's a point you made already. Let me take your final words on this.
So what we are saying is that, one, I'm happy somebody want to measure VRA on efficiency, help VRA to be profitable, help VRA to compete favorably. First step, let's stop the support from HOT for the IPPs. That is number one. I'm happy to hear the board is coming. Let the board, management, and the staff of VRA decide on HOT, the strategic direction of HOT, this company. Let those in the ministry be very clear with their key performance indicators. Well, they should not help clear the debt and go and sleep. That will not help anybody.
Okay.
They should be key players in this process in terms of helping everybody. Ghanaians need power, and we have to make sure power is available, it's reliable, and it's something that they can afford.
Okay. Do you have any final words, Ms. Adjumani?
Yes, I will say that currently we have overcapacity. Okay, so we have
overcapacity.
Yes,
but yet we don't have power in our homes.
No, we have it.
Okay.
And maybe it's the demand that is also an issue that could be treated at a later date. But the fact still remains that VRA has its own strategic business that it needs to address. Aside from that, it is also a security institution which needs to be protected, because then it has a toll on our hospitals, it has a toll on our security agencies and all that. And once we have these at the back of our minds, as a nation, I believe that we need to protect the assets of the nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for passing through the studios. I've been having this conversation with Cephas Duse. He is Senior Staff National Chairman for the VRA. Also in the studio was Esther Agyemang. Esther Agyemang, she is Chairperson for the VRA Union. We've been talking about the VRA and the senior staff there, some demands that they're making. Actually, they are resisting government's attempt to sell some parts or some assets of the VRA. They believe that it will bite us really hard as a nation if that should happen. Well, it's very interesting to know that we're making a lot of losses. It just doesn't make business sense. But thank you very much for coming once again.